Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Internationally podcast. Before we start, let me talk a little bit about the podcast. So, the Internationally podcast is going to be a space where different international students, prospective ones, as well as current international students, could get a glimpse of the life of international students in the US or abroad. This week, I am joined by my very, very dear friend, Asiya. Welcome to the show, Asiya.
Hi, hello.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, let me talk a little bit about you. So,
Mhm.
Asiya is from Karachi, Pakistan, and she went to Mount Holyoke College and graduated in May 20. She did a double major in international psychology. Currently, she works as a research officer at the Collective for Social Science Research and is engaged with multi-disciplinary projects with a focus on development, civic spaces, gender, democracy, mental health, youth well-being, and qualitative research. Would you like to add more?
No, I think that's enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Th- Yeah.
So, the title of this episode is Dealing with Coming Back Home. So, as the first question, what is the first
hmm
thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word coming back home?
Um, Family, I would say, because I'm living with my family at my home in Karachi. And I think coming back
Mhm.
home, I mean, I didn't think that that would be the first. Like, literally, I was thinking a number of words were coming, but I think the first one was family, and I chose to stick with it because, I mean, that's the image that I have right now in my head. And usually, because I think that
Mhm.
they've had a very pervasive impact since I have come back, and I mean living with them after living alone for 4 years
Mhm.
has had a huge impact on me. So yeah, I think that's the word.
Right.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
yeah, I to agree with you honestly. Like when I hear the word like coming back home, I would just because I guess it depends on like what home is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever that is. I think
Yeah.
it also like signifies to me that like you have went on to this like extended trip for a long time and you haven't seen your family and friends, and then you're like moving back and like it has like a positive energy, like even just reading the word out loud. um
Mm-hmm.
so so my next question for you is, what made you decide to come back home after graduating from college?
Mm. Well, I think I just wanted I mean, I actually was thinking of doing my masters and I started applying.
Mm-hmm.
um but then my dad got sick, and then in my senior year he passed away. And then I like, it was a sudden change of plans because I thought that okay, I might go for my masters, but then I decided to come back home and spend some time with my family, because
Yeah.
I think, I mean, that is something that I wanted at that time. And I also
Right.
wanted a break for myself, just to process a lot of things and take it slow. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that I wasn't ready for doing my, like, ready to do my masters yet. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't a uh, I mean, it was, I kind of knew what I wanted to do at that point. So it was a very seamless decision, I would say. Like, it happened very seamlessly, and I was just like, okay, this is something that I want to focus on right now. And
Right.
yeah, I think just I think, and that connects to my first question, your first question, and my answer to your first question, which was family.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think one of the core reasons for me coming back home was like being with my family and spending time with them.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I think Yeah, that was one of the major reasons. And apart from that, I also wanted to explore, because I also did a double major, like you said. So I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
explore what I want to do my masters in,
Mm-hmm.
because, like, I keep dovetailing these two areas. And even right now, even at my job, there are two projects that I'm working on. And they have a little bit of psychology, as well as, like, international, yeah, relations research in them. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just keep mixing them up, and I don't know. So, like, there were a lot of reasons, but
Right.
I think the biggest one was family. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. For me, honestly, like, so we both decided to come back to our home countries after we graduated from college. And I
Mm-hmm.
honestly don't think a lot of international students do that, because most
Yeah.
people that I know either stay in the US or they apply for jobs somewhere else. So like they're just like a few percentage of us who actually decide to come back to our home countries.
Yeah.
So for me personally, why I decided to come back home, as you said, it's not like a like, I mean, there were just like so many reasons,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I actively like started thinking about it like the summer of my junior year. If you remember, we were together. We were in New York. We were doing an internship,
Yeah.
and I remember like
What?
telling my sister that summer, like, because I was like looking ahead to my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, senior year, you're stressed, you apply to jobs, everybody's asking you every single day what you're gonna do after graduation, which is like
Mm-hmm.
its own stress. But I think it
Mm-hmm.
was that summer that I remember telling my sister, like, I think I'm gonna move back home after I graduate. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't see myself living here after
Mm-hmm.
I finish school. And for me, the reasons weren't explicit for me. Like, I didn't know it then, but I just had this feeling that after I finished school, I'm meant to come back home. Like,
Yeah.
I just didn't see myself living in the US. And I think this might sound weird because I made a decision based on a feeling that I had, but I knew.
No, that doesn't sound weird at all. That does not sound weird, but yeah,
Yeah,
continue.
but like I just couldn't ignore this like gut feeling that told me like I need to move back home.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no job secured. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a risk, honestly, but I just moved back home, and my mom moved back home with me. And it's here where I started applying, and I got a job, and like but like things started working out after I moved back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So was it similar for you? Like, did you have like this gut feeling that was like pulling you back, like wanting you like to go back home?
Well, I think there was, yeah, along with the host of reasons, there was some uncertainty. And I just thought that it'd be better to sort it out at home. I think, in, like, being in the comfort of my home. And that really comes from a point of privilege, and for me at least, and, like, that security of, like, just being with your parents, and with your family, being at home. And I didn't have to worry about a job then. But I also remember, I don't remember much from the internship. Like, I think you were just thinking about it, but we did have a conversation in our senior year, when you came over for brunch. And you were just like,
Yeah,
we're just so, like, annoyed at everyone, like, who kept asking us, oh, where are we applying for jobs, what are we doing next? And
right.
at that time, I was still burnt out from everything, like, I did in those 4 years. And I was just like, I cannot think about further steps right now. I need to take a break. And
Mhm.
I think that feeling really stayed with me. And I think a lot of, yeah, you said that there's a small percentage, but I think it's people take different routes after graduating. And I think that was something that I needed at that point, because I think it was just too early for me to jump into another master's or PhD program, which I was thinking at
Mhm.
that time. Like, I think I got even, like, I got enough from academia as well. And
Mhm.
I also wanted to work. It wasn't like I wanted to take a break after I graduate. And I was actively looking for jobs, but
Right.
um, I still didn't know, because there are lesser opportunities, especially in my line of work in Pakistan. So
Mhm.
I just knew a number of places, a handful of places, and I didn't didn't know where I would really end up. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that was, a jump that I just, yeah, like you said, I think I wanted to take. Yeah.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And like for, as a follow-up question, what was
Mm-hmm.
the reaction of like your friends and family when you told them that, okay, I'm moving back home after I graduate?
I think my family was elated because they, I think, really missed me when I
Mm-hmm.
was not in like Karachi for 4 years. I would come back for breaks, especially summer
Mm-hmm.
breaks, but I did spend a significant time in the US. So I think they were fine, but like two of my best friends who still live in the US, they were also okay with me coming back because they were just like they knew that I really wanted to do it at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we feel like this distance a lot. Like after almost 2 years, yeah, it's been such a long time, and I didn't realize that it would hit us so much that we're going to miss each other like in these 2 years,
Right.
and like really reminisce all the time that we spent in college. So I think at that point my friends really didn't have a reaction per se, because they knew that people take different routes, and that's completely fine. um and my friends were also actively looking for jobs, like in the US only. So
Mm-hmm.
for them, they're like, okay, maybe it's more stable for her to go back home, and it's fine, she can figure it out, and then um maybe come back if she wants to. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So very neutral reaction from my friends. I mean, nothing to, oh my god, why are you leaving, or you
Right.
know yeah, they were all very supportive, so that is something that I'm really grateful of. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
For me, I think if I remember, when I told
Mm-hmm.
my family that I wanted to move back home, they were like, are you sure? Like, is that really what you want to do? Because obviously at that point, I think it was like around March, like spring semester of senior year. And,
Mm-hmm.
I told them, yeah, this is what I wanted to do. Um, like maybe I will come back after working there for a while. Who knows? But right now, like I see myself as the next step, like living back in Ethiopia. And they were surprisingly supportive, honestly. Even like some of my friends, they were like, wow, you're moving back, that's very brave. Oh my god, you're so, courageous. Like, how can you do that? But for me,
Yeah.
honestly, it wasn't that hard of a decision to make,
Mm.
because like even though there were a lot of, as you said, uncertainties, like I
Mm.
knew that it was going to be fine and things are going to work out the way that they're supposed to work out.
Yeah.
Um so yeah. So moving on. So now I'm gonna ask you, like, what were some of the interesting questions that you received from people once you moved back home?
Hmm. Um. Well, I think, I mean, I got a job really early on, so that question
Mm-hmm.
didn't come up. Yeah, like that
Okay.
was something, like I was really settling in, and I had sent my CV at the collective only where I work currently. um
Mm-hmm.
so so that is something that, like, I wasn't being pestered for. People
Mm-hmm.
strangely haven't started, and I'm happy with that. I'm like really happy that people haven't started asking me when I'm getting married, even though a lot of my friends and like people my age do get that question. But I think people know
Right.
that my reaction wouldn't be that great, so they, I think, stay away. Like, they're just like, they don't ask me, and I'm like, okay, I'm happy with that. But yeah, I think that is
Mm-hmm.
one of the questions that, like, is something that people are asked, and people do ask me this question very passively, if I'm going to like family weddings, or if I'm meeting this old auntie who wants to see people get married. She's going to ask me that
Yeah.
question. But apart from that, like,
Yeah.
it's not a consistent like thing that people are pestering me or asking me that, oh,
Mm-hmm.
when are you getting married. But yeah, so these are like, this is something, these are the two main things that I thought that I was also kind of prepared for, that this is something that's
Mm-hmm.
going to come my way. But apart from that, I think people have recently started asking me, okay, so when I'm going to do my master's, and I'm just like, still confused and like, okay, why are you asking me this? And um it's fine, like it's a good, important, reflective question, but I think
Mhm.
and it didn't really disturb me till the beginning of 2020, but like since the pandemic,
Right.
I'm just like, what's the point of going to school right now? Stop asking me this question, you know? Like if I started like if I applied in the, the 2020 cycle, like if I had sent in my
Mm-hmm.
applications before the pandemic, I would still think, but right now I'm kind of grateful that I didn't apply, because things have been like, so different, and I don't know the idea of school and how, like, I just don't know. I need to figure out like this another layer, which is the pandemic in itself. So, you
Right.
know, um yeah, so that question is something like, I like it puts me in a very reflective position, and I'm just like, okay, this is interesting, and I need to like, because I've always wanted to pursue further studies, so I'm just like, okay, I want to go to grad school, but yeah, I don't know if I'm ready yet. So yeah, these are
Yeah.
the, I think, the three main things. Like, people want to know what I'm doing with my life, even though I am working. So it's just interesting. People
Mm-hmm.
keep like, they want to know what your further plans are. And like, I mean, I think in the South Asian culture, it's like for women my age, they're like, okay, she will be settled when she is married or has children. So they don't see you as a settled, happy, independent person, right? They're like, okay, there's something missing from her life. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just difficult for me to convey that, like, no, dude, nothing's missing, and I am living the way I want to, and I'm happy. So, there's like
I love
their
that.
end. That's what they see, like, in terms of a timeline. If I have to put that, they want, women my age to meet that milestone, or like, just to have that, even if they're working or like, not working. I don't think they really care about that, but that is something they, they're like, she's going to be settled and happy, and like, that is
Mm-hmm.
what they find contentment in. And that's like, I'm so far away from that, that I'm just like, I can't even begin to explain, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm so glad that you shared that,
mhm.
because that's also like one of the things that I had to deal with once I decided to move back home, which is interesting because I never thought like just the sheer number of people who have asked me when I'm getting married
Mhm.
has become just ridiculous. Like, I did not expect I would get this
Yeah.
question. So maybe it was, I was naive on my part, like, not expecting that, because in college, as you know, like, we're all studying, we're all hustling. Like, we don't even have time for people to
Oh
ask us
yes,
those
yeah.
kinds of questions.
Yeah.
So it has definitely been interesting for me once I moved back. And these questions were coming from like family members, like relatives,
Mm.
like they weren't even distant relatives. They were, relatives that I knew while I was growing up and stuff. And they were asking like, so when are you getting married? I was just like, hold on, excuse me. Like, I just moved back. I just got my degree. I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm not done with school yet.
Mm-hmm.
And but they were like, I remember one time this uncle, quote unquote, was like, so when are you getting married? And I was so frustrated at that point that I was just like, no, he actually said, I want to attend your wedding.
Oh
And I
wow.
was just like, and then I was just like, why don't you go to someone else's wedding?
Yeah.
And then he was like, no, 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 I want to attend your wedding. I was just like, well, you're going to have to wait for a while
Yeah.
because it's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
And then he got so disappointed. I was just like, bro, like, I'm not gonna rush myself
Yeah.
just because you want to be at my wedding. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, it feels like it gives them a different kind of fulfillment. I just don't know. Like, even though it's not their life, I just
Like,
I just
what's
don't
up with that?
understand. Yeah, I don't know. They're like, no, you have to do this. And I just don't, yeah, I don't fully understand it. But yeah, it's interesting that you had to face, like, do you want to share any funny anecdotes where people just keep
Yeah,
coming and
yeah.
pestering you?
No, honestly, because like I kept reflecting back on it because it happened like multiple times, and
Yeah.
I kept wondering like, is it just because I'm young and I'm a woman? So I asked my cousin, and I was like, because he's a guy, and I was like, so do you get these kinds of questions a lot? And he said, not really. like honestly, they're just like it's just like assumed that like, oh, whenever he reaches a certain age, he's gonna get married, but like nobody pesters him,
Yeah.
and says like every 5 minutes like, when are you getting married? But do you have any funny stories that you want to share?
I mean, nobody really asked me, which is like great. But like, like, but that is something that I was so ready for. But
Yeah.
does like, don't think that I'm sounding ungrateful that I haven't been asked that question a lot. But literally, I think people just stay away. They don't ask me because they think I'm gonna get angry or something. Because I'm just,
Wow.
I think it's just on my face that I don't want to
Yeah.
talk about it. Um,
Honestly, yeah.
yeah, but I don't know. My like two of my very close friends here are also married. So, I think people are thinking about marriage, and I just don't know. They sometimes even ask me, "Oh, like, when are you getting married?" And I'm like, "No, you did it. I don't want to." And
Right.
and they don't have really good feedback. They're just like, "Yeah, it's tough. You should delay it as much as you can and want to." And I'm just like, "Yeah, I said that to you before. You didn't listen to me." So, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't I don't know. But yeah, so I don't have any like interesting stories where people have
Yeah.
actually asked me. Yeah, it's strange because people, when I was going off to college, that was a question that was still there, because my elder sister, who's 2 years older than me, she was getting married at that time. So she got
Mm.
married when she was quite young, and people also thought that I'm gonna like. She was very very young. Like, I think I'm still very young to get married, but she was just 21. So at that time I was
Whoa.
19. Yeah. So people at that time would really really ask me, but right now I think, yeah, I think my demeanor is something that
Hmm.
they're just like, no, that's not a good question to ask.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I think I just don't
But
give up that vibe. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And
Mhm.
like I kept thinking about it, and I think most of the time it comes from a good place. Like they just
Yeah.
want to see us, be happy and whatnot. But I think it's just like, I remember like around the beginning, I used to get like really frustrated because I was like, why aren't they asking me about like my career aspirations or
Hmm.
like what I studied in college? Like, why isn't that as important? So that was like
Yeah.
my frustration. And then like after a while though, like after talking to like some of my friends who are also getting those kinds of questions,
Hmm.
they told me like they devised a strategy, which was just like, just going along with it, like not letting
Hmm.
it offend you as much,
Hmm.
because honestly like you're still going to get those kinds of questions even if you don't want to get them.
Yeah.
And I think maybe like trying to understand it from a point of like, they're just looking out for us, maybe
Yeah.
might be helpful.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. Like, my mom, when she asks me this question, or like, because she's the one who like keeps probing me, because she feels that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I think it also, like, it's her love language, kind of like, it comes from a place of love, where she's just like, okay, this is something that I think will make you happy. And for, like, for her, I think like some sort of companionship, if I have in my life, is going to, fulfill me in some way. So I understand
Right.
that it's coming from a place of love, especially like, if it's coming from my mom. But it does make me angry too at times, because I'm like, okay, I like, this is not my sole purpose in life. um but when I see it, I'm just like, okay, this is just her way of showing love. So I mean, I only mostly feel it, like, when it comes from my mom, because I'm just like, when other people ask me, I'm like, it's none of their business. But like, elders in the
Yeah.
family, and like obviously my mom, I respect that, and I'm just like, okay, it's fine, I understand.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like even now, like reflecting back on it, like another question that has been like really dominant was, I remember like around the beginning, even like people that I would meet would ask me, um so why would you move back from the US? I mean, you were in the US,
Yeah.
like I have never met someone who moved back. Like, why would you move back? So
Mhm.
it was asked in a question, in a kind of like, it wasn't like a genuine like, oh, I'm very curious about your move and your journey here.
Mhm.
It was
Mhm.
kind of like, like judgmental,
Yeah.
almost. And I was just like, because I wanted to, that's it. Like, it's just simple as that. There are just no there's no story behind it. It's just like because I wanted to, I moved back. But like constantly I would get these kinds of questions of like saying, why would you move back? Like, why would you move back? You are in the US, like nobody else moves back. Did you get those kinds of questions?
I mean, people do see the US as a huge opportunity, and they're like, okay, why are you missing out on that? Or, and like, you know, there are lesser opportunities here. You won't earn as much, and so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think when I moved back, so I think maybe in like in 2019, I was really asked that question. And then after that, I think it just slowed down because now it's been 2 years. So I don't remember when I was when someone really asked me that question, but I do have a faint memory of someone like, just,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you just, why didn't you stay there, why didn't you like choose to work there,
Right.
because the opportunities there are better. But I think that when I really told them what my reasons were, they understood.
Mm-hmm.
um and yeah, I think it's something that, and I think a lot of people in Pakistan also choose to move back. I think, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a lot of the people from Mount Holyoke also, they came back from the US, and yeah, they did move back. And a lot of people also stayed. So I think there's like, I don't know the exact percentage, but I mean, a good amount of people, like, some had visa problems, some didn't get a job. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, my only thing was I didn't even apply to any jobs, or like uh, applied for a visa extension. I just chose to move back. so
Right.
so yeah, I think I was very set in stone, and I think I was confident about my decision. And even when people asked me, I was just like, okay, this is like, I'm moving because I want to, like, it's a very like it's because I'm willing to do it, not because of other reasons, and it's fine.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And like, I think I would have been fine if it was like, for a host of other reasons too. But I think it I was just so ready to move back and stay at home for a little
Mm-hmm.
while that that question really didn't bother me. I was like, yeah, I'm not denying that there's a lot in the US, but I want to just be at home and explore so many things that I've thought to. So yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, totally. I agree with that. Um, my next question is, what were some of the things that you expected
Mm-hmm.
that you would find or see when you came back home? And then, like, what were like some of the, surprising things that happened, like something unexpected
Hmm.
that happened after your move?
Well, that's an interesting question. I didn't really expect anything when I was moving back. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
just, for the longest time, I was in a, I'm back for, like, it was kind of a denial kind. I don't know, that period, that first month or two.
Yeah.
I really hadn't settled back in, because I would come for 2 months for the break, for summer breaks, if I would. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I think when the third month started, I was just like, okay, I'm back for good, and I need to curate this place um as my own, and
Mm-hmm.
I need to, like, feel that I am back home. So
Right.
that transition, that okay, I'm here, I'm gonna stay here for good, um was interesting, because even at in college, I mean, at Mount Holyoke only, but like every semester we would kind of move, right, from one hall to another.
House.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At Smith, you guys were in houses and we were in
Right.
halls. So, like from one residence hall to, we would move to another. And um I I think I've like lived in so many halls in Mount Holyoke, and like experienced like different kind of homes, that like feelings of home that each one gave, that I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, every time like moving from one place to another was very exciting for me, even though like I was in the same vicinity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then coming back, and I was like, okay, this is going to, like, this is my house and this is my room, and like, this is it, kind of, right? So that mobility was kind of, I don't know if it was I don't think it was my mobility that was taken away, but like I think my lifestyle became less nomadic in some ways, because I was like, I'm
Right.
not gonna keep moving. And that is something that I did not expect, because I was so in the habit of keeping, like, not buying things, because I was like, okay, I need to keep moving, and I, like, what's the point of purchasing these, like, things, these
Mm-hmm.
clothes, these books, even. um but then, like, when I moved back, I was like, okay, I want to make this room my own, and I am going to live here for a significant period of time. So yeah, that's when I was just like, okay, settling in thing, like, it kicked in. And to be honest, I'm still dealing with, like, being in one place for such a long time, because I think, those 4 years of constant movement really, I mean, it was such a driving force. It took away the feeling of, just being settled in, or being in one place. So I think, yeah, I just didn't remember that feeling. And yeah, that was something that was new to me, just agreeing to be home, and, like, agreeing to settle um
Right.
in my own space. And then, other than that, I was like, okay, there's this, um you know so international students have a culture shock, I don't know, quote unquote, when they go to a new space. But when they also move back, I think there's a reverse culture shock kind of a thing, where, because you're just like, okay, these things didn't happen there, and they're, like,
Mm-hmm.
happening here now. There's so much change in language, and even the way you speak. I don't know, I think that is something that like, everyday lingo. For example, I
Mm-hmm.
was talking to my sister that day, and she's like, okay, what do you, like, would you, because she remembered, and she's like, okay, so what would you call, like Pepsi or 7 Up, like soda, basically, in Mount, like, when you were abroad. And I was like, yeah, I used to call it soda, because, like, drinks over there, they mean alcohol. So you're like, you know if you say
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have a drink,
Right.
so they think,
Right.
okay, it's an alcoholic drink, and they're gonna start asking you, okay, so what do you want? And I'm just like, no, I just want soda. And they're like, and then what do they ask? I was like, black or white, or, like, I don't know, just, they list down the names. But
Mm-hmm.
here it's different, because I'm just like, okay, I want to drink, like, I want to drink something, so they're just gonna give me, like, a normal, like, non-alcoholic beverage, because
Right.
that's, so, yeah, little, very, very minute things.
Right.
I don't know if I'm answering your question, but, like, yeah, it's something that I didn't expect, because it's like, I have lived here for 19 years, and then I had this hiatus from this place for 4 years, and then now I'm
Right.
back.
Right.
But, coming back, like, now I'm beginning to realize that, but I had these 4 years, and they have changed me as a person. So I am in the space as a different person now.
Right.
Not
Right.
entirely, but, like, it's a strange feeling, because it's so
Mm-hmm.
familiar, yet so different, because I have added those, like, 4 years into my life, which were in another space. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, I think.
Yeah.
How about
Thank you
you?
for sharing
Yeah.
that. That was really beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
honestly, for me, I think I kind of, because I moved to the US when I was 15, so I went to high school
Mhm.
and college in the US.
Okay.
And so so it was 6 years of my, I guess, young adult life that I lived in
Mm.
the US. So it was a significant portion. And when I decided to come back home, I knew that it wouldn't be the same place that I left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I knew that, the environment's going to be different. Things are going to change. The city is always changing. The people that I knew, some of them were here, some of them weren't. So I kind of, like, before I moved back, I had to, like, really have an honest conversation with myself of saying, like, I know I miss home,
Mm.
but when I go, I'm not going to find the same home that I left.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I kind of knew before I moved.
Mm.
And then after the move, I was right, honestly. Like, I think part of it, like being homesick, is you're always trying to find that sense of home within you. You're always trying to chase after the past, because I guess we all have a tendency of romanticizing the past and always thinking, like, our
Mm-hmm.
childhood was great, and, like, oh, if things were, if things would go back to the way they were. But unfortunately, the reality is things change, people change, everything changes.
Mm.
And after I moved back, I mean, it was great. I mean, I'm not complaining, obviously, but I wasn't seeing my family members as much. I wasn't seeing my friends as much as I wanted to. So that kind of was like, okay, so now this is my new reality where
Mm.
I'm an adult now. Because I've
Yeah.
always lived like as the child
Mm-hmm.
with my parents here. I never had to think about, you know, applying for a job or like being, doing all these adult things like opening a bank account, like for instance.
Mm.
But now it's in a different space. I'm like the adult now. So
Mm.
I think that also has changed.
Mm.
And then I also remember once when I was in college, I was also thinking about moving back home, and I went to a talk at Amherst, and there was this lady who said, home is always going to be there for you. It's not going to leave.
That's
So that
beautiful.
kind of like, yeah, that kind
Mm.
of like gave me a comfort of some sort, of just like why am I rushing to go back home? I should stay and like enjoy my time with my friends,
Mm.
get all the experiences that I could in the US. And then once I made my move back home, I was okay with it. I wasn't disappointed or anything.
Yeah.
So my next question is, do you regret moving back home? Do you wish you had stayed in the US?
Not at all. I think this was so needed. And I think
Huh?
it
Can you
has
repeat
made
that?
me,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. I'm just saying not at all.
Mm,
I don't regret it at
right.
sorry. I just don't regret moving back at all.
Right.
Um, yeah, I think it's been interesting because, it's been a very self-reflective journey, and I think when you're in that space, like for example when I was in Mount Holyoke, there was uh it was a safe space to just, be very driven with your goals and whatever you want to do in life. And I think, it
Mm-hmm.
was I was very focused that way when I was like in Mount Holyoke. But after that, I think I needed some space, even from like academics and, just um all of these, just chasing after one opportunity, and then another and another. So I think I needed that time off, and I think home has given that to me, since I have moved back. So I don't think I do regret it in any way, but sometimes I'm scared that I might not be able to move again from here. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like I sometimes get scared of getting too comfortable
Right. The
in
comfort. Mm-hmm.
yeah, in the comfort of my home, where I
Right.
don't have to. And I miss the feeling of just being on my own. I think home is beautiful, and like my family is there and everything, but I do
Mm-hmm.
miss being on my own in so many ways.
Right.
And that's something I really got in Mount Holyoke. But other than that, like just and even in Mount Holyoke, I think we were kind of spoon fed because we were undergrads, and like our things were taken care of. We didn't have to cook, and you know
Right.
we were in a safe space. And I just don't know. There was a lot of things that were sorted out. It was still a I think we all did great in college, and I think it's a big step to just be in
Mm-hmm.
college and like do that life. But I still
Right.
think that it was very, very sheltered and protected. And I think that is something that we needed at that time, because, those were very, like, those were the transformative years, moving from
Yes.
adolescent to, adulthood. But right now, I think I would want to have some time on my own. Like, would just want to be alone, in my own space. And
Mm-hmm.
just sometimes when I think about like my home and the comforts of it, I'm just like, maybe I don't know if I'll be able to, just hustle back and, get on with what I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I've been working at this space for 2 years, and it's been great. I've learned a lot. Um, but I also realized that, yeah, it's time for me to, start looking ahead and seeing,
Mm-hmm.
what's out there for me. And I like movement. I like to explore different places.
Right.
So, I just don't want to lose that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I do agree with what you said as well. For me, I honestly don't regret my move back home. It's something that I wanted to do, and I'm glad that I decided to do it and took the risk.
Yeah.
It made me learn a lot about myself, and at the end of the day, when you make a decision for you, when you make a decision that makes you happy, it pays off. It's worth it always. Um,
Yeah.
and I always try to keep that in mind. I mean, I complain, here and there, because obviously nothing is perfect, and
Yeah.
you always think that the grass is greener on the other side. When I'm there, I
Mm.
miss Ethiopia. When I'm here, I miss the US. But at the same time, I think the challenge for us is to be grateful and to appreciate the I think it's also honestly it's also a privilege to be able to like move back home, because a lot of people don't have a home to come back to even.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's also something that I really daily reflect on. Yeah. So as we're ending this conversation,
Yeah.
what advice do you have for current international students who are thinking about coming back home?
Hmm. um, I think my advice would be, if you're thinking about it and if you have the privilege and the capacity, and if you have that security, then make that decision, because I think it is important to, I mean, I had a very specific college experience as well. How Smith and Mount Holyoke are, they're different colleges. But
Places, yes, for sure.
yeah, yeah. But you need some time off, after all of that, all of what we've done.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's good to take that time off, and just come back home and reflect, the kind of person that you were before you went, and then, like, your time over there. And then I think if one is thinking about it, um they can, weigh the pros and cons. But, like, if that idea is there, let, like, just season it a little bit, think about it, and then, make the move. But don't like succumb to the pressures of other people, just saying that, oh, you need a job, or you should stay here, there are great opportunities. Yes, they're going to be there even then. And, like, right now we are in such an uncertain time, and
Right.
if like being at home is going to serve you well, I think that is something that you should do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I would agree with what you said. I would just add, like, you should probably ask yourself, like, honestly, why you want to move back home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as you said, like, you shouldn't make that decision based on like what you think other people um told you to do, or there are a lot of external influences that go to this like kind of decision making, where it's um I mean, you're basically, moving from a different continent to, your home, and
Yeah.
that's huge. And
Yeah.
there are always sacrifices associated with every decision that you make. And I think, as you said, um, it all depends on the person, because, as you said, our experiences are different, even though we're all international students.
Yeah.
Um, but as you said, if it serves you, I think you should go ahead and do it, because at the end of the day, you're going to learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
any last minute things you want to add before we go?
No, I think this was I think we covered a lot in this
Yeah.
small conversation. Yeah, I was very reflective. I think even the last time we spoke, I had a very reflective, journey
Mm-hmm.
of thinking about my time at college. And I think that
Right.
even though I just said that in my advice, like, just reflect. Sometimes we get so wrapped around in our own, work and thoughts, and, just life, that we don't get the time to do that. So I think
Right.
actively reflecting on what you want, like asking the question, is so important. Asking ourselves these questions is significant. And I think I'm learning that. And yeah, it's a great tool.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Asia, for agreeing to be my
Of
guest and for
course, of
having
course.
this wonderful conversation. Um, just a last minute housekeeping, I guess. Please make sure to follow the official Instagram page at Internationally by Ruth. That is
Mhm.
LIE. And please send an email if you have any questions and concerns about being an international student to internationallybyruth@gmail.com. Thank you again for tuning in today. I hope you have a lovely week and take care of yourselves, everybody. Bye.
Bye.